Good evening. I now call the April 23rd, 2024 regular board meeting of the Richland 2 Board of Trustees to order. The agenda for tonight's meeting has been published and made available publicly. May I please have a motion regarding the approval of the agenda?
Ms. Chair,
Ms. McFadden,
I move to approve the agenda for the April 23rd, 2024 regular board meeting.
is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Ms. McFadden and seconded by Ms. Agostini to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Board members, please vote. We'll do hands right now. If you'll raise your right hand. Oh, it did, okay. Well, let's see. Can you read the vote of what that is? Sorry. Okay. So that is 5 present for yes and 1 or 2 not present. We will now move to item 3.1, executive session. May I have a motion to go into executive session?
Ms. Chair,
Ms. McFadden?
I move to convene an executive session for the purpose of discussing student appeals, student admission requests into the district adult education program, breach of contracts, ratification of professional recommendations, ratification of administrative recommendations, ratifications of administrative multi-year recommendations, and employment recommendations and certified releases.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Ms. McFadden and seconded by Dr. Monica Elkins-Scott to go into executive session. Is there any discussion? Board members, please vote. Okay. Ms. Tenedra, can you read back to us the vote? Oh, just what the tally was. Okay. 6 present and for yes and 1 not present. And also for the public, Mr. Chairman Trapp is actually at home sick today, so I will be presiding in his place. But he is on the phone. We will now convene an executive session at 5:33. May I have a motion to end executive session?
Madam Chair,
Sorry, Ms. Schuler-Washington.
yes, I'd like to make a motion to end executive session at 5:45 and resume public session.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Ms. Washington and seconded by Ms. Agostini to end executive session at 5:44 and resume public session. Is there any discussion? Board members, please vote. Okay. The vote is 6 yes, 0 no. The motion pass, I'm sorry, 7 yes and 0 no. The motion passes and we will resume public session. I want to make sure the public knows that Chairman Trapp is actually with us by phone. He's feeling a little bit under the weather, and so we wish him a very speedy recovery. Now we will have our inspirational moment and Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Agostini will introduce tonight's guest.
It's my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Indira Curitan Cummings, the Director of Palmetto Center for the Arts at Richland Northeast High School.
To Chairman Trapp, the entire Richland 2 Board of Trustees, our superintendent, Dr. Moore, and the entire Richland 2 family, greetings. I am Indira Curitan Cummings, affectionately known as Mrs. Cece, because that's a lot of name. I am the director of the Palmetto Center for the Arts, PCA. PCA, housed on the campus of Richland Northeast High School, is Richland District 2's high school performing arts magnet, celebrating over 2 decades of excellence in arts education. PCA is the recipient of many awards, including the Kennedy Center's Creative Ticket winner, as well as a member school of the Distinguished Arts in the Basic Curriculum Institute. On behalf of our principal, Mark Sims, and the entire Richland Northeast community, we are here to proudly showcase our talented PCA students in this inspirational moment. We were delighted to receive the invitation from the Honorable Lindsay Agostini to share our closing number, Bring on the Monsters, from our spring musical, The Lightning Thief, the Percy Jackson musical. We were sad to learn our royalty license prohibits live stream performances. But not to be deterred, the PCA theater students found an old favorite, a rap they created that they wanted to kind of entice and show the creativities to those future Falcons, future Cavaliers. I'm a Falcon from AC Flora. I guess I went way back right there. So I present to you PCA Theater.
PCA Theater presents
Ode to Creativity.
Sometimes things in life don't always go as planned. Luckily for us, creativity is always close at hand.
We tried to get permission to perform a little Percy J.
Hardcore theatrical said, no way.
Aww. So we thought, and we pondered, what can we do?
That's when creativity stepped in and said, dude, I got you.
So we will rap about our beloved magnet, PCA, where creativity flourishes and we are purpose-driven in all we do and say. Send my regards to Broadway. Remember me to Herald Square. Tell all the gang at 42nd Street that I'll soon be there. Whispers of how I wonder of Send my regards to all Broadway, and I will soon be there.
Drop that beat. PCA, Palmetto Center for the Arts. We're here to stay. We never ever will depart. And guess what? There's room for you. So sign up for choice so you can be one too. Hey. We have visual arts. You can become a part. You can paint or draw. Hey, that's just the start. PCA, we're here to represent. PCA, we have the best events. PCA, together like cement. Come on, we're PCA. There's theater, of course. You can become a horse, be in a play or a musical. Just sign up for a course. You can audition for dance. Come on, just take a chance. It'll help you enhance. 5, 6, 7, 8. Hey, and now we're talking about band. What are they? 5-time grand champs. Hey, they're what?
We're the best in the land.
Come on, hey, just join our band. We stand proud for the Cavaliers. Hey, and now we're talking about chorus. Their stage presence is enormous. Come see their performances. Says orchestra, orchestra. You can play so many strings. You can do so many things. Hey, and come and see what it brings. What are we? We're PCA. PCA.
We're here to represent.
Oh, PCA.
We have the best events.
Oh, PCA.
Together like cement.
Come on, we're PCA.
PCA.
We're here to represent.
PCA.
We have the best events.
PCA.
Together like cement. Come on, we're PCA.
Turn about.
Will you all lead us into the pledge? Thank you to Ms. Cece and Palmetto Arts, PCA. Thank you all. And thank you for Ms. Agostini for having them come. Really great job. This next agenda item in this section is recognition of state and national award recipients within our district. Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Ms. Chairman. I'd like to call Mr. Triquetta. I'd like to recognize Mr. Triquetta, our Senior Chief of Communications, to present the award recipients to the board.
Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Moore, let's be clear, that's hard to follow, but I'll do my best. Tonight we have a room full of champions. To my right, to my left, you're going to get to meet some incredible athletes and scholars tonight. 2 words to best describe this group: excellence and dominance, and I'll detail in a second. We begin with the Ridgeview boys basketball team, 29-2 record, Chick-fil-A champions, Class 4A state champions, national tournament invite to the Throne tournament, New Jersey, right? Finished ranked in all 3 national polls, number 17 Max Preps, number 11 USA Today, number 22 in ESPN. 5 state championships, 7 years. Dominance, dynasty. Don't take it for granted. Ask a New England Patriots fan. Those wins, you take them and then all of a sudden they go away. So keep it going, guys. Now to the part that really is striking. All 3 seniors will be continuing their careers academically and athletically at the next level. But 98% of this basketball team made the honor roll. So gentlemen, it's your time. Come on forward, coaches, Dr. Mack, let's get up here, let's take a picture with the board, and let's celebrate this dynasty. Give him to the coach. Board members, you might want to get in front for this one. We got plenty of height in the back. Okay. Everybody ready? 3, 2, 1. Another round of applause for the Ridgeview State Champions. We've got more state champions to go. Don't worry. We now turn to Blythewood High School, who has a pair of state champions, not just state champions, 2-time state champions. First one I want to introduce you to is Tayana Mack. She's a junior. She's a 2-time upper state champion. She just won her 2nd straight girls state championship wrestling at 132 pounds. She wasn't just dominant, she was undefeated. She was 25-0 this past season versus every girl she'd faced. She's just qualified to wrestle for the Nationals girls team from South Carolina in Tulsa, Oklahoma later this summer through USA Wrestling. She's also the varsity soccer goalie and played JV football, recording 8 tackles in a game. She literally can do it all. Tiana, coach, come on up. Mr. Sherman. Ready? Perfect. Yeah, give it up for her. She earned it. Don't go for it. Board members, don't go far. We got one more. We're not done with 2-time state champions. Let me introduce you to another one. She's a sophomore at Blythewood High School, and she's a 2-time state champion already. Her name's Caroline Hawkins, 2-time state champion golfer. Caroline was able to defend her state title from a year ago and win her 2nd individual state championship by 14 strokes from the nearest competitor. She helped Blythewood win the team championship in 2021. She also won the Carolinas Junior Championship in 22, the Matthew Naismith AJGA event, and the inaugural Congaree Match Play Tournament. I think she wins just about everything she enters. Caroline, come on up. Coach, come on. Principal. You guys are getting good at this. 3, 2, 1. All right. About another round of applause for Caroline. We're now going to move to a board recognition. Dr. Monica Elkin-Scott, if you wouldn't go far. I'm going to have you come up, as this was her nomination for a recognition. Jason, Jacqueline, will you come stand with me? You all right? You going to be not too nervous? All right. This is Jason and Jacqueline Gadsden. Perfect right there. They had an idea. They wanted to organize a shoe drive with the goal of supporting people in the community and helping the environment by keeping shoes out of landfills that could be instead recycled, right? Shoes were collected locally from donors across Richland, Lexington, and Kershaw counties, as well as from supporters all the way to Charlotte and Greensboro. Those people saw the drive on social media. They had a social media presence. The Center for Achievement, Richland Northeast High School, and various businesses throughout the community served as collection sites that were instrumental in these two siblings collecting over 1,300 pairs of shoes. They also collaborated with Richland 1's fifth grader, Braylon Boyd, in his school, Carver Line Elementary, serving as a collection site as well. You guys know how to get everybody involved. More than 90% of the shoes were in new and gently used condition and were distributed to people of all ages at Community Festival in Columbia on March 23rd, as well as delivered to various homeless shelters throughout Columbia. The shoe drive was obviously a smashing success, and Jason and Jacqueline are eager to host another drive and other community impact projects. How about a round of applause for these two entrepreneurs? Okay, guys, let me take a picture of that. Come on. Everybody ready? Perfect. And that concludes our recognitions for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Turketta. Board members, any comments? Okay, we will now move on to 6.0, the consent agenda. May I please have a motion regarding the approval of the consent agenda?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Washington.
I move to approve the consent agenda for the April 23rd, 2024 regular board meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Ms. Washington and seconded by Ms. Porter. Is there any discussion? Board members, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. We have no one for public participation, so we will now move on to item 8.0, voting on executive session items. The board will now vote on items discussed in executive session. Item 8.1, student appeals. May I please have a motion regarding the student appeals?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Agostini,
I move that we deny the appeal for student number 1.
is there a second? Is that Ms. McFadden? Okay. Okay, the motion has been made by Ms. Agostini and seconded by Ms. McFadden. Is there any discussion? Board members, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. The next item is item 8.2, student admission request into the district's adult education program. May I please have a motion regarding the student admission request into the district's adult education program?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Washington.
I move to approve the student admission request into the district's adult ed program for student number 1.
Is there a second? The motion has been made by Ms. Washington and seconded by Ms. McFadden. Is there any discussion? Board members, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. Item 8.3, breach of contracts. May I please have a motion regarding breach of contracts?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Washington?
I move that we direct administration to not make a formal complaint to the State Board of Education for employee number 1.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made by Ms. Washington and second by Dr. Elkins Scott. Is there any discussion? Okay, board members, please vote. As long as that's correct on the screen, Ms. Washington, is that right? Okay. Board members, please vote.
Ms. Washington, it should be employee number 1.
Is that correct now, Ms. Washington? Okay. All right, board members, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. May I please have a motion regarding breach of contracts employee number 2?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Washington?
I move that we direct administration to make a formal complaint to the State Board of Education regarding employee number 2 who breached their employment contract.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Ms. Washington and seconded by Ms. Porter. Is there any discussion? Okay. As long as that motion is correct, Ms. Washington? Okay, board members, please vote. The vote is 5 yes, 2 no. The motion passes. Item 8.4, ratification of professional recommendations. May I please have a motion concerning the ratification of professional recommendations?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Agostini?
I would like to start off by polling employees number 9, 224, 342, and 669.
Okay.
And with that, I move that we accept the ratification of professional recommendations for the 2024-25 school year as presented.
Is there a second? The motion has been made by Ms. Agostini and seconded by Ms. McFadden. Is there any discussion? We'll wait for the motion to appear to make sure it's correct before we vote. Ms. Agostini, is that correct?
No, we need to, that's not in the motion. We're going to make a separate motion to accept those employees. So we just need those pulled for right now. That's correct, because we had the others pulled. Then we'll make a separate motion for the other 4 employees. Pardon me? Yes.
Okay, board members, please vote.
Point of clarification? Point of clarification?
Sorry, there is, okay, Ms. McFadden.
So the concern is that there's no documentation that says that we pulled those numbers out. We're going straight into this vote that has all of these on here.
That will be in the next motion. It's like when we're going through the statement of beliefs for the School Boards Association, and we pull things to be considered separately.
But there's no indication that they've been pulled right now. It's just the way that it reads is that
You don't need to. It's because you've got, in Robert's Rules of Orders, when they're different things, it's like the consent agenda. I can pull something out from the consent agenda and discuss it and vote on it separately. So there'll be another motion to approve those 4 employees.
I'm sorry.
Point of information.
Ms. Porter?
In that situation, would you not make a motion to remove something from the consent agenda?
No. When you remove something from the consent agenda, if everybody does not, if there's anybody that doesn't agree that it's consensual, then it only takes one person to ask for it to be broken up.
I'm sorry, Ms. Agostini. At this point, I'm going to abstain from this because that is stating that if we accept that motion, that we are voting for everything on there. There's no indication.
I've asked for those to be pulled. She can put it in the minutes. Will you put in the minutes that those employees were asked to be pulled? No, it doesn't.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Porter?
may I suggest that we keep the motion as is and add an extra line that says, with the exception of, and list those numbers, and then follow with the secondary motion?
Okay, so why don't you amend the motion then?
Okay, I move to amend the motion, not the emotion.
To add?
To add without numbers 9, 224, 342, and 669.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion was made by Ms. Porter and seconded by Dr. Elkin Scott to amend the motion. Board members, once it shows up on the screen, if we can make sure that motion is correct. Ms. Porter? Is that, oh, wait, that's.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Porter?
may I just repeat it just to?
For sure, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and that is, I move that we accept the ratification of professional recommendations for 224-25 school year as presented with the exception of employee number 9, number 224, 342, and number 669.
So, no, technically, we have to vote on the amended portion first, what you've added to my motion, and then we vote on the full motion.
Okay.
So we vote to add your words, and then we vote on my motion with your added words.
Okay.
For them to do it. Okay, she's just reading, make sure they have it written.
Madam Chair,
Trapp?
I just want to make sure, because I can't see what's happening in real time, but are we about to vote on a motion to add except for the 4 employees as an amendment?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because the live stream's about a minute behind what we're actually doing.
Okay,
So I can see anything. Thank you.
thank you.
$224, $342, and $669. Is that correct? The motion was made by Ms. Porter and seconded by Dr. Scott.
Is that correct, Ms. Porter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, board members, please vote. Theirs come through? Did yours come through? Yeah. I'm perfectly fine if you all want to do a hand vote really quick. If we could do a hand vote, everybody raise their right hand for. Any noes? And Mr. Trapp, are you voting in the affirmative?
Affirmative.
Okay, affirmative.
Yes.
Okay. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion to amend the original motion passes. And now we need to go back to the original motion.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Porter?
I move that we accept the ratification of professional recommendations for the 2024-25 school year as presented and removing employee numbers 9, 342, 224, and 669.
Is there a second?
Second.
A point of order here. So the original motion was already made by me. So we don't have to have a motion made.
Okay.
We just needed to add the amendment that Ms. Porter made.
Okay.
And then vote on that.
Perfect. Okay, so then we will move on to the, I believe there is another for 8.4, if we can have a motion.
No, point of order. So what we need to do is vote on the original motion that I made with the addition of Ms. Porter's amendment that we just passed.
Which is what we just did.
No,
That's what we were just doing just now.
no. You had to vote on the amendment to add to my original motion.
Which we did, okay?
Yeah, now you have to go back and vote on the initial motion.
Okay.
With the amendment
Okay, that's what I thought we were
included.
doing. That's what we were doing.
I stated that motion.
She was
Say it
making the
again?
motion. Yes, please.
Okay. So this is not an amendment, this is a motion. I move that we accept the ratification.
Point of order, there's no motion to be made. Madam Chair, you now announce the motion that I made with the amendment and then ask the board to vote.
So, yes, okay. So board members, please vote. So we're going back to the original motion I move that we amend for the ratification of professional recommendations for the 2024-2025 school year as presented and removing employee numbers 9, 342, 224, and 669. Please vote. Yes, please. I'm sorry? We're just voting, everybody's just, it was seconded. It was Ms. McFadden. Ms. Agassi, is that correct?
With the exception of the "and" at the end, yes.
Okay. Board members, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. Is there a second motion for item 8.4?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Agostini.
I move that we accept the ratification of professional recommendations number 9, 224, 342, and 669 for the 2024-25 school year.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Ms. Agostini and seconded by Ms. McFadden. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Washington.
so I want to say due to conflict of interest, I will be recusing myself from voting on these items.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Trapp?
Yes, I'm recusing myself for the same reason.
Okay. If that motion is correct, Ms. Agostini, is that correct? Have they put it up? Oh, sorry, no, it's not up there yet. There we go.
That is correct.
Okay, board members, please vote. The vote is 5 yes, 2 abstain. The motion passes. We move on to item 8.5, ratification of administrative recommendations. May I please have a motion concerning the ratification of administrative recommendations?
I move that we accept the ratification of administration recommendations for the 2024-25 school year as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sorry, was that you, Dr. Elkin Scott? Okay. The motion was made by Ms. Agostini and seconded by Dr. Elkin Scott. Is there any discussion? Okay, once we see that appear, Ms. Agostini, is that correct?
It is.
Okay. Board members, please vote. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. Item 8.6, ratification of administrative multi-year recommendations. May I please have a motion concerning the ratification of administrative multi-year recommendations?
I move that we accept the ratification of administrative multi-year recommendations for the 2024-2025 school year as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Dr. Elkin Scott and seconded by Ms. Agostini. Is there any discussion? Dr. Elkin Scott, is that correct motion?
That is correct.
Okay, board members, please vote. The vote is 6 yes, 1 no. The motion passes. We now move on to 8.7, employment recommendations and certified releases. May I please have a motion regarding employment recommendations and certified releases?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Porter,
I move to accept the employment recommendations and certified releases as presented.
is there a second? The motion has been made by Ms. Porter and seconded by Ms. McFadden. Is there any discussion? Okay, once the motion appears on the screen, Ms. McFadden, is that correct? Ms. Porter, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, board members, please vote. Thank you. The vote is 7 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. We have no items for 8.8, so we will now move on to 9.0, unfinished business, action requested. 9.1. May I please have a motion regarding the 8% bond resolution? Oh, is there a presentation? Sorry. Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Ms. Nash. I'd like to ask our Senior Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Nancy Williams, to come to the podium.
Good evening, Vice Chair Nash, members of the board, Dr. Moore. I stand before you seeking approval of the 8% bond resolution for needed technology and maintenance items. Our bond counsel, Ms. Franny Heiser from Burr and Foreman, is here this afternoon if you have any specific questions related to the resolution itself or the logistics of the process. Mr. Anderson and Mr. Carter are also here if you have any specific questions related to the projects themselves.
Board members, any questions or discussion?
Board members, the documents are in your Word docs, as well as you have a hard copy in front of you if you have specific questions you'd like to ask.
If there are no questions, may I have a motion regarding the 8% bond resolution? May I have a motion regarding the 8% bond resolution? Oh, okay, here we go. Just 1 second, we're going to get wording.
Madam Chair, as it seems like no one's going to make a motion, I move that we not approve the 8% bond resolution.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay. The motion has been made by Ms. McFadden and seconded by Ms. Agostini. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Dr. Elkin Scott?
I will be in favor of supporting this 8% bond referendum. So I hope that my colleagues understand the importance of this 8% and that they will not vote to not support this. We're talking about our teachers, our faculty and staff, resources that we need. It just doesn't make common sense. And common sense is not common all the time, but it just doesn't make common sense not to support this. So hopefully this will fail, and then we'll get the right motion on. I think my colleagues were trying to find the motion. So I look forward to this failing and my colleague finding the motion so we can approve this and do the business of what our constituents voted us in to do. Thank you.
And Ms. Williams, I just want to be clear that this is the bond resolution where we talked about that this is not increasing taxpayer dollars or any of that, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Ms. McFadden, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, board members, please vote. The vote is 2 yes, 5 no. The motion fails. Do I have another motion?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Porter?
I move that we approve the proposed 24-25 general fund, no, I'm sorry.
8%.
I move that we approve the 8% bond resolution as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made by Ms. Porter and seconded by Dr. Elkin Scott. Is there any discussion? Ms. Porter, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, board members, please vote. The motion is 5 yes, 2 no. The motion passes. We now move on to item 10.0, which we have 10.0, unfinished business, no action requested. And this is the 10.1, 2024-2025 general fund budget, first reading. The agenda item in this section is a presentation regarding the 2024-2025 general fund budget. Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, I'd like to turn it over to our Senior Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Nancy Wims.
Turn it on, that would help. Greetings again. I stand before you to present a first read of the proposed general fund budget for fiscal year 25. But before I begin, I would sincerely like to apologize for getting this information to you in such a short turnaround time without you having sufficient time to review prior to the board meeting. There are a lot of moving parts, but I assure you this won't happen going forward. So tonight, I'm going to present a general fund budget that's $388.8 million. This budget includes a max mill increase, and this budget primarily focuses on competitive salaries and much-needed positions in our district to provide services for our population of students with its diverse needs. Before I get into the numbers, I want to again remind you of the budget priorities. Remember back in January, we sent out a budget survey to the board as well as all district employees, and I'll remind you again of the top 5 priorities based upon the survey responses from the board. And of course, academic intervention, safety and security, and competitive salaries are at the very top of that list, along with extended day and summer learning opportunities and our student support services. Similarly, responses from the employees had competitive salaries, of course, at the top of that list. Again, academic intervention, safety and security, student behaviors now is added to the list, and then student support services again. And then Dr. Moore, her priorities for the development of the fiscal year 25 budget include competitive salaries to ensure that we are able to compete with our surrounding districts for talent, and then trying to address those inequities in the pay structure for our classified positions. Multilingual learners, special education support, and attendance round out her top 4 priorities for the development of this budget. So we built this budget, of course, with these priorities at the core of our work. And then, again, like I said, we built this based upon a max millage increase, but I want to also say we use the House budget and the numbers that we were provided from the state in development of this budget for first read. And just to remind you, $230 million was included in the state aid to classrooms funding model for K-12 education. The state increased the starting salary to $47,000 for beginning year teachers and extended the state minimum salary to 28 years from 23. They included some funding for health insurance, and then they increased teacher supply funding. Okay, so just to remind you of some numbers from the workshop, a max mill increase would result in a $29.2 million increase in revenue to Richland 2. And so, of course, we know that that would not involve any tax increase for owner-occupied property, but those with rental property and commercial property, for every $100,000 of real property, that would be a $115.80 increase and a $23.16 increase for a $20,000 car. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And so what's on the next 3 slides corresponds to page 5 in your handout. I was just trying to put it on trying to figure out the best way to put it on the screen for everybody to be able to see it, because it does get a little small. And so, again, this is built with that max mill increase, but what you will see, the first 4 line items from the budget workshop, those were the things that I included as the fixed costs or the required compliance costs, if you will. Contractual obligations and increases in property insurance and SRO contracts. As you know, as you're fully aware, building a budget and where we are in this phase of the process may look completely different to what you end up seeing in second reading, because we'll continue to get updated revenue projections, and then we'll have some concrete numbers for some other items. Again, when I talk about that property and liability insurance increase, we're still waiting on some things like that to come through to give us some concrete numbers. But those first 5, again, kind of go into the fixed and the required compliance components. And then we get down to item number 5. The classification and compensation study implementation at a cost of $5.1 million to help to ensure that we are as competitive as we can be. And that information was shared with you all from. And then number 6 relates to a step increase. When we get down to number 7, that will be the item that impacts teachers the most. As you recall, I just said that the state increased the starting minimum salary to $47,000, and our consultant provided us a copy of a proposed salary schedule for teachers to make us competitive. The cost of implementation of that proposal is $13.5 million. So the budget that we have presented before you today does not include that full implementation, but what it does include is a two-pronged approach to implementing that teacher salary schedule over a 2-year period. So we're proposing to begin our teacher salary schedule for a first-year teacher with a bachelor's degree at $50,000 at a cost of $7.7 million, and factored into that is some cost savings that we have from vacancies to get us at that $7.7 million amount. What this proposal also does is it decreases the steps in our current salary schedule. Right now, we're at 45 years. This proposal would drop that to 35 years, okay? And also what occurs in our current teacher salary schedule is around year 25, I believe, we start banding, where you go for a 5-year period of time without getting an increase. This will see an increase, okay? And then in order to ensure that we can maintain our current class size ratio, that's what you see in item number 7, 7 new teachers related to growth of our student population, okay? And then number 9 rounds out us being able to maintain 31 positions that we're currently funding with ESSER, to include our health room aides, our attendance interventionists. We have a couple social workers in there. So those would allow us to maintain those positions, okay? So if you take us, so what this little footnote to the bottom is trying to say is items 1 through 9 from the next 3, this slide and the next 2 slides, and also what corresponds to page 5 of your handout. If there is a $0 million increase, will be all that we're able to fund with the revenue that will be generated from that, okay? Yes, ma'am?
So for the ESSER funds, I just did a quick calculation real quick of the $1 million. I think it's staggered, their positions. So are some of them making like $58,000 or more? Because when you divide that out, each 31 person would be making $58,000.
No, ma'am. They're different salaries. So we have some instructional assistants that are in there, like in our special education classrooms. We have when I say special education, we have some teachers in there. Yeah, so the salaries, it takes into consideration individuals.
Okay, so someone, maybe 3 interventionists could be making $75,000, and then maybe a nurse aide would be making like 25 or 30. That's
correct.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
understand.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair. 5, the classification and compensation study, is that amount for all of the changes that would be applied?
Yes, ma'am. Those are the recommended changes as well as fringe associated with those changes.
Does that include the certified teacher changes?
No, ma'am. Not those that we're counting in that salary, in that teacher salary line, number 7.
Okay.
That is for the classified personnel. Remember, our consultant came and spoke to us. That only corrects classified to make us competitive, and then by state mandate, we have to give teachers a step, and we have traditionally always given everyone else a step to match what we are required to do by state statute for teachers.
Did they complete for the certified positions?
So they did not include teachers in that portion, since we're required to, pay teachers
Right.
according to their degree and years of experience. But those other positions that aren't considered teachers are included in that as well.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And then item number 9, does that include certified interventionists added to our centers that did not have them previously?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
So that includes those current positions that we're funding right now in ESSER at those, I don't want to quote the number, the 6 or 7 locations, the 6 locations. 7 locations, thank you, Ms. Shuba, the 7 locations.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any more questions or just? Yeah.
Okay. And so the next set of items, lines 10 through 23, I'll go through those, but I'd like to say, so what's included in here, so if you did lines 1 through 23, that's what we could fund with like half of the max mill increase, or a 9.7 mill increase, okay? So we've included some positions related to multilingual learners, and special education support related to teachers and instructional assistants, an interpreter, physical therapists. That's how we get to the 9.6. We also are including a proposal related to athletic stipends because we are not competitive at all with our surrounding districts, and we continue to see folks leaving. And so that is a part of a proposal in order to make us more exceptional support for our new teachers and international teachers. And so that's where you see that additional support there at 2 FTEs to continue that much needed work. When we get to line 14, that's our projected cost of outsourcing our current guest teacher services. Apologize, I didn't say guest teacher there, Dr. Moore. Guest teacher services, and that increased cost there related to increasing our fill rate and trying to do what's needed in that area. We're looking to increase our at-risk budget for our schools. We're on line 16, we really need to hire a hearing officer to make sure that we can handle those processes timely.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Since you're on the hearing officer, you said we need to hire one more.
I'm looking at.
One full-time, we have our director who is also here. We have our director of pupil service who serves as a hearing officer, and we have 2 part-time hearing officers.
Okay, and I guess my question is going to be, Lottie Chisholm was here and handled a whole lot more cases than what I've seen since I've been on this board. And she handled cases, and it was just Lottie Chisholm and you. So I'm just wondering, are you and the director of pupil services, are you guys not doing cases? Because we have 2 part-time. So I guess you handling cases as well?
I am not handling cases.
Have you help out and put that money into our books, our student resources, and some other things? I mean, Ms. Chisholm's been here 40-plus years, and she handled cases. Now, if you guys can show me where the workload is just so heavy that you can't be a part of those cases when people have been a part in your position before, then I will support this. If not, I would like to see that money go somewhere else. And this is not anything personal against you. I'm just looking at money, and I'm just looking at being on this board for 12 years where you and Ms. Chisholm handled cases, and we had more. And I can say this because I worked in the district as a school administrator, and now I'm on the school board. Less cases in the past 5 or 6 years than that, so I don't understand what the concern is with getting a new hearing officer. So someone, if you can convince me differently, I'm ready to hear. But if not, I most definitely would not be supporting that, because I've seen more cases come through with just the 2 of them being able to handle that and efficiently. So I'm ready to hear someone tell me why I should support that.
Madam Vice Chair.
Ms. Agostino.
Just along the lines, I share Dr. Elkins-Scott's concerns and am interested in seeing the data, because when we're looking at these student appeals and the numbers that come to us, you know, I don't have it factual, but it seems like it's been significantly less the past couple of years of the students that are appealing expulsions to the board. So unless they're having more hearings and recommending less are actually being conducted, and sort of the trend for because it seemed like Ms. Chisholm was doing a significant amount in comparison to what we're seeing today.
Dr. Moore.
And we'll be happy to get those numbers for the board. But what I will also let the board know is we constantly hear from our teachers about discipline. And while the board may see less appeals, that doesn't mean that we aren't dealing with more cases. And so the reason this was put in place was to bring on 2 part-time hearing officers to free up Dr. Burnett Lyles so she could spend more time in school supporting administration and reducing the number of issues that the board has constantly raised around concerns that they have. So that was the purpose, but we'll be more than happy to gather that data and bring it to the board.
Okay, Dr. Moore, now I'm really new hearing officer, then Dr. Burnett will now be in the schools doing what?
She'll be doing more training and supporting of the administrators in the building, as well as helping them to better support the students in the building.
Okay. Then why isn't that like professional development once a month? Why?
And that's
okay,
what
I guess that'll be another conversation.
Correct, because
Yes.
she is doing professional development,
Yeah.
and that is the purpose of what her job description is. However, due to the larger number of cases that we have, she spends the vast majority of her time conducting hearings, serving as a hearing officer. And so the goal was to have 2 part-time people off of her so she could do more professional development.
I would suggest, is Ms. Chisholm still on board? Is she still? Then maybe Ms. Chisholm need to come on and do some professional development, and she can tell us how she could handle triple the amount of cases that she did back in the day with proficiency than what we're struggling with now. And it just really just amazed me. And some of you guys probably can relate to this. When you've had a job and you've done it well, A+, and then when you leave, it takes 3 people to do the job you've done. Just doesn't make sense to me. I would not be supporting one hearing officer. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Washington.
So is this a typo? Because I'm hearing 2 part-time people, or are we just saying that it's going to be 2, which equates to 1 full-time position? Okay, so then my second question is, well, I'm not going to ask it, I'm just going to make a statement that if we are asking for an additional board has shared, then when we talk about these positions for ESSER that's funded in terms of, are those the same as the behavior interventionist? Or I guess I really want to have a real good understanding of how the behavior support works in Richland too. Because in our last presentation, Dr. Burnett Lau said that was not under my purview, Ms. Washington, it falls under another department. So all of these different components, we've got this person supporting this, we got this person supporting this. How does it, and now you're saying that Dr. Burnett Lau, this will free her up to be able to go into the schools, to be able to support schools, but how do all these components fit together? It seems like there are so many different pieces that are dealing with behavior, and it's not making sense. So I don't understand the need for an additional hearing officer, but I would in the future like to get that question answered because it is unanswered and it makes it look like we have so many resources and it's spending a lot of money, and then we're coming back before the taxpayers and asking for more money to support behavior. And they're asking us, well, what, I thought y'all have all these things in place. So if we can get that addressed, I know this is not your presentation, so I certainly appreciate the information, but when we see that, it raises so many red flags because we are saying that we already have all of these supports. What else? So if we can get that in the future, I would greatly appreciate it.
Ms. Chair.
Ms. McFadden.
So I know that we had our consultant come in and go over the classified positions, and I'm going to ask again for those previous job descriptions of what everyone was doing, and then what the new ones are. So like what Ms. Washington is talking about, we can see what was being done and what needs to be, what we're trying to do now. So I've made this request since September, but I think now it's crucial that we get that information because the budget is already here, and I would like to be able to see this position versus this position and what they're doing.
Is there any more discussion on this portion? Okay, continue, Ms. Williams.
Yes, ma'am. Line 17 relates to continued funding for our arts program. We have roughly $100,000 in our ESSER budget related to the performing arts and things like that, so we're trying to continue that. Line 18 asks for a position related to our Pathways to Promotion program. Line 19 relates to continuing, and I didn't write that, I didn't say ESSER there, but continuing the support for virtual instruction. Currently, we have positions funded in ESSER for those instructional facilitators for our virtual programs. So that would be to continue with 19 of those facilitators. That's what this request is. Line 20, line 20? Oh.
We have 29 on here. Is it 29? Instructional for 19, it says 29.
Yeah, oh, yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I jumped to line 20. I'm sorry. Yes, this, I don't know what I said right now. I must have misspoke. I'm sorry if I did. 29 positions, 29 instructional facilitators to continue that work that's currently underway. And then to jump to line 20, that's really to give an FTE position for someone who's been in the district for a very long time in a temporary position in the registrar's office, and that's really just to make that a permanent FTE. That's what that request is. Yes, line 21 relates to upgrading a position at CFA Center for Knowledge North and Center for Knowledge from the lead teacher to the AP to the assistant principal. Line 22, of course, relates to some compliance related to our CPR training and AED training. Yes, ma'am.
Isn't this one mandated by law?
Yes, ma'am.
So I think that would probably have to go up. I mean, I understand it's on here 22, but if it's mandated by law, doesn't it need to be, in the top 9, just because it's mandatory?
We can shift the priorities, yes, ma'am. We can shift it. 23 relates to a request for teachers at our e-school in business and fine arts.
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
In this session, one rating the lead teacher position at CFK and CFK North to AP. Why is that necessary? And then I noticed the stepchild CFA is not listed, but we have CFK and CFK North. So I'm just curious as to why are we moving lead teachers to AP?
Yes, ma'am. I would look to Ms. Foot.
I got it. So currently, the administrative staffing at CFK and CFK North, of course, includes a principal who spends half of her time on each of the campuses. And so when for example, when the principal is at CFK, it leaves just a lead teacher at CFK North. And we would like to have that to be an actual administrator, an assistant, a certified administrator as assistant principal at that campus, because they're the only administrator on campus. And if you combine the student population of CFK and CFK North is equal to or greater than our standard elementary schools, and our standard elementary schools each have a principal and 2 APs. So it's making the combination of CFK and CFK North equivalent to what we have in our traditional elementary schools.
Okay, so let me make sure I'm clear. And I'm making it known because I know how we overlook CFA, and then we make sure we take care of CFK. So my question is, for clarity, you're stating that the principal is divided between 2 schools, correct?
Yes, and so she will spend, for example, Monday, Wednesday, Friday on one campus, Tuesday, Thursday on the other.
Okay, so is there a lead teacher at both of those schools?
And what we're asking is to convert the position from lead teacher to assistant principal.
Only at one of the schools?
At both sites.
That's my point.
Yeah, because if you
So
combine
if we're going to have a principal at one location, then why would we need 2 APs at both locations? Because if we're putting an AP I will just say for an example, we're putting an AP at CFK North. That's locked in. I get it, I understand. We do want an administrator there daily. Get that. Safety reasons, talking with parents, for a whole lot of reasons. Makes sense. What does not make sense is to have a principal and an AP at CFK. So someone, once again, help me to make sense of that, because I most definitely will not be supporting that.
Yeah, and I guess just the thought there is CFK and CFK North combined is equivalent to Langford or Bookman, and those sites have a principal and 2 APs.
Right, but those are 2 different sites, and you have a principal at one site who's covered, administration. Now you're going to have an AP, which is covered. So why do we need a principal and AP at this site? Because if we're saying that, then why don't we have a principal at both sites and an AP at both sites, which doesn't make sense. So
yeah, so
I would support a AP at one site and then the principal at the other site. But I will not support having 2 administrators at one site and then just 1 AP at the other site. Again, we're talking about funds. I'm sitting here thinking about the principal's secretary that I mentioned earlier that works 50,000 jobs in a school. The bookkeeper, the principal's secretary, the nurse, the receptionist, and the list goes on. And we're trying to stack administration? No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're going to look out for our classified staff, and we're going to divert some of that money there. I'm not saying that administration is top-heavy, but we're about to make it top-heavy, and I'm not going to be a part of that. So that doesn't make sense to me. But I will support 1. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Ms. Porter?
So my confusion with line 21 is that we have another set of centers, and I know one is a certified principal sharing 2 centers, and then there is no AP, they're AAs. There's 2 centers, 1 principal, and then an AA that is shared amongst the 2. So still, we don't have an AP. Is it because they're smaller?
Now, you're speaking our language, because it would be great to do at CFI an AP, and that CFA would get the AA full-time, like ideally, but we didn't want to appear to be too greedy and put all of that in one budget request. And so currently, there is an AA, as you mentioned, an AA that's split between CFI and CFA. And so ideally, like over time, it would be great for CFI to also have an AP position, and then the AA be full-time at CFA. So, why an AA at CFA and not an AP? It's because of the number of students. They have a significantly lower number of students than the other centers.
Back to what I stated with CFA, just overlooked, and then we take care of the other schools, the haves and the have-nots.
Ms. Chair?
Ms. McFadden?
So I just want to be clear, so the positions that we're talking about, they would be covered under this new salary compensation on number 5. The other ones, the AP, the principals, are they included in number 5, the salary scale increase?
The salary schedule.
For number 5, so that
the compensation and classification study does include those positions.
Okay.
Yes.
Madam Chair?
Ms. Porter?
My second question for this section is I saw that we have change for the athletic stipends. I'm thinking about at our high schools, our student activities directors. They teach a class, and they also take care of all student activities that are happening at our high schools. So do they get a change in their stipend as well? Are we paying them equally as far as stipends at all high schools, equally?
Good evening, board members. Ms. Porter, that is all under review as part of our salary study, is to clean up any positions that are not consistently paid appropriately, and that is one of the areas that we're looking at, because there is one location that's not paid as the others, and so we are addressing all of those inconsistencies in our work now. So that will be addressed. It is taken care of in the salary study information. Salaries is taken care of there.
What makes that different from the line item 12, athletic stipends?
That is just dealing with the athletic coaches, the coaches that teach the sports, football, all of the sports for the high schools.
And that's not included in the salary study?
That is not, no. Because currently the way that we compensate our athletic coaches is, one, they're not competitive. So of course that's definitely been determined. But two, we are utilizing their daily teacher rate to compensate them. So like, say for example, currently a head football coach is paid 190 days for his teaching assignment. And then he's paid 35 days at his teaching assignment rate, at his teacher rate, for these additional days that he coaches football. What we're doing there to be consistent and to make it easier for us to manage and be able to be more competitive, because other districts do this, is we're looking at proposing a supplement only for football. So the head football coach supplement would be just this amount, and it would not be attached to days at all. Meaning that we would have the 190-day contract that they are paid on, and then they would get a supplement for their coaching responsibilities, which that's the best practices in our industry for coaches.
Okay, so now I'm more concerned because you said football.
It's all. So
okay.
I gave football as an example, because football is the one that we give additional days to. Because remember, supplements are based on revenue-generating sports. Of course, football is our highest revenue-generating sport, so that was just the example. The other sports, like say, for example, volleyball gets a flat supplement, and so what that would be looking at is increasing that flat supplement, as well as adding boys volleyball to that for this year too, because that is a new sport that's being added through the high school league for
so that's
high schools.
Included.
That's all included in there. Okay. Restructuring our supplements to make sure that we're paying based on just a flat supplement for all of ours, looking at increasing some of their days that are one or two of their positions that are not equitable to their number of students that are on the field plan, as well as addressing any inconsistencies for Title IX to make sure that our girls' sports are paid at the same level as our boys' sports. So it's cleaning up all of that through this process that we've been through with the athletic coaches, and they've been athletic directors, and they've been heavily involved in it, and it's cleaning up all of that and making sure that we're consistent and competitive with our sports.
Ms. Chair. Mr. Foster or Dr. Foster, is there that same stipend for our arts program, our theater, and our bands, our orchestras? Do those teachers also get a stipend?
Yes, ma'am. So band does get a supplement as well, and so that is part of that is not looked at in here because band supplement is already taken care of, but we will be addressing any inconsistencies there too with the band. So we're wanting to get away from days, because it's really, if you think about how you're paid by days, if you're coaching football, I'll use football again as an example. If you're coaching football and you've been a football coach I've been a teacher for 20 years, but let's say you just decide to coach. So you're getting paid off of your 20 years of teaching experience, but you've only been coaching for 1 year. May not be an ideal situation. So what we're trying to do is make sure that we're paying people appropriately, even if they're certified or if they're not certified. In football, that we're paying people appropriately for the work that we're asking them to do. So a football coach, regardless if you're certified or non-certified, if you're coaching, you should be getting compensated for that. And the only way we can do that is by establishing a set supplement that would be paid for all football coaches and for all athletics, period, really, for all sports.
And that same applies to theater, orchestra,
it applies to
band,
fine arts as well.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Washington.
I have one final question for Dr. Foster. Thank you so much. How long have we been out of industry compliance with pay? You've been here for how? 30. Okay, so for 30 years, Richland 2 has been out of compliance for pay, is what you're saying, because I remember when we were a district of choice and everybody was running to Richland too. How long?
So I've not been here for 30 years, but the information that we have and the things that we're trying to address to make sure that we are competitive and that we are compliant has been in place for a number of years. As far as I can date back, there has not been a solid classification compensation study that's left here for us to follow right now. So as far as going back saying 30 years, I have documentation that says that this practice was put in place 30 years ago, and that was shared, through our AG report. So we do have documentation that goes back to support some practices that have been in place for 30 years. But
then I guess I'm asking because we're not going to be able to fix all of this stuff in one budget season. And so I would really love it if even that we get some kind of like long-term 2-3 year plan, because can I be honest, these are the questions that people are asking us because it's their livelihood. And so it just really, it is disheartening to hear people present pay stubs to us, to come up to this microphone and talk about how they're having to do X, Y, Z. But if we can prove to the people that we're going to work, it may not all be fixed during this session, but if we can prove to them that we're going to work on these things, it gives people hope. And so I just hope that nobody is taking these questions and feedback as any attacks, but it's just, we are constantly, and I'm not going to say bombarded, because we welcome the conversations with teachers and employees. And I've even talked to athletic directors and coaches, and they're like, man, such and such district, we're having to really coerce people to stay. So we get it, but we've got a solid plan in place to address this. So encompassing all of these various positions, fine arts and the athletics and classified and certified, and we just need a solid plan. That's just all I want to say. I don't want anybody to feel like we're attacking, but people are coming to us with, they want to be here, they love it here, but we're going to have to put a plan in place, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, I want to assure you that our commitment, based under Dr. Moore's leadership, has been to correct the issues that are concerning to, I've been here for 4 years. There's been things that I've observed and that we needed to correct. And so now we're at an opportunity to correct those things. Are we going to be able to take care of everything at one time? No, but the goal is for this budget cycle, based on the things that have been shared with you, we are going to take care of a lot of things that we can, that are concerns, but there's going to be more things that are going to come up that we have to address. We know that the Department of Labor just issued new guidelines today that's going to impact all of the work that we've been doing now. And so, it's an ever-changing, and you can't just do it 1 year and say we're done. It's going to be something that we have to look at diligently for the next few years to get everything taken care of. So we are working very hard to do that now, and I hope when we get it finished that the things that we're able to accomplish would be some of the priorities that you have put in place, and we'll be able to share all of that with you. It's just that we're still working on a lot of this now, and it's going to be, we may not have some of this stuff finalized until July 1, when you approve the budget, July 1, when we're able to start sending out notices to employees to say, here's what's been approved and here's what your changes will look like to your compensation.
I did have a question for number 11, special education support, and I see there is an increase there. Is that for people that we're adding? Is that increase?
It's the addition of those 9 2 teachers, 6 assistants, an interpreter, and the 0.6 physical therapists. I think that.
And Ms. Nash, that is because of the number of students that we have picked up this year. We have increased our student population in special education over 200 additional students, and those 200 additional students are coming in with a variety of needs, and some of them are very extreme, meaning they are in some very small classes, like 7 students that require a teacher and 2 aides in the classroom because of what the student's disability is.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Porter.
Okay. I'm looking at this list, And I see extreme, are things that we really need, that we can't do without. And I'm also hearing the max mill increase and that will go to our county, right? Some of these, I'm thinking, we need to be going to the state level to get funded, or at least make sure that those who make decisions about money coming to us are aware of these type of situations that we're dealing with. I'm going to throw this out here, and I know we can't do anything about it now, but I want everyone to consider it. I'm thinking this is a lot to put on our county. It could go to the state, possibly having a lobbyist that we hire to be able to communicate these concerns at the state level. And we wouldn't have to have this cycle happening. Well, some of these things aren't fully funded by your state, and now we've got to come in and help you. Just by talking to different representatives, I'm thinking that may be a great strategy for us and a great return of investment with a full-time lobbyist that works regularly at the State House for our issues.
Dr. Elkin Scott.
And I completely agree with that. And I think I've had this conversation with Dr. Moore a few months ago that that's what we need. We need a lobbyist. But I'm going back to the money and the things that we have up here. And I do recall months ago, before we got to the budget process, that I wanted to see something given to elementary secretaries because they are working 2 jobs in one. I don't see that up here, but I was trying to calculate it in my head, and I'm not that great at math, but I'm just thinking about that $100,000 AP position. We can divide that and at least give out $1,000. So that's why I like to see that go, because I think I shared that before, and I don't see anything up here with the increase for our teacher assistants. And I started my career as a teacher assistant. So that's truly at my heart. I know how hard I worked, probably worked a little harder as a teacher assistant than I did as a teacher. Nothing against teachers, I'm talking about myself. I don't want anybody to get upset with me. I'm only talking about me, guys, me. And I don't see anything there. Our speech language pathologists, they came in and spoke with us. I don't see anything there. And then our elementary secretaries, I don't see anything. So I'm just, is where?
Dr. Scott, Dr. Elkin Scott, if I could.
So line number 5 is for that. We're giving them what type of raise?
It
vary based on position?
It will vary based upon position.
Okay,
but,
what about the
those
secretary?
positions that all of those positions that you just mentioned, they are included in there.
No, 5
wouldn't. The elementary administrative assistants / bookkeepers, the TAs.
Secretaries?
They're all included.
Okay.
And I can give you an example if you.
Yeah, I need an example because when we're talking about middle and high school principal secretary, that's totally different than the elementary secretary. Because in the middle and high school, you have a bookkeeper, and that's all that person does, bookkeeping. Then you have the principal secretary. All that person does is work for the principal, take care of principal needs. Elementary school, that person does all the bookkeeping, that person does the receptionist job, that person fills in when the nurse is out and the kids are going to that person. So I don't want to see elementary secretaries lumped into this because we're not paying them fairly if we lump them into that. I would like to see a stipend or something like what we do the coaches or something for those people because they are working 2 jobs. That's what I would like to see. And we can make it happen. We can make it happen.
So Dr. Elkin Scott, I just want to say that in our work with the consultant, those were priority positions that you asked us to look at. So we have been looking heavily at those positions. And in our proposed they are addressed. I don't think we're ever going to get to the point where we're going in funds to separate the positions. So we have to look at making sure we're compensating it appropriately. And that's what we're trying to do in the work that we're doing. But we also have to realize that we have other positions at the, I'll just say elementary level that are combined as well. The student data coordinator as well as the registrar work is done by one person as well. So, you have the front offices at the elementary school mainly have 3 people there. Some of them have, 1 or 2 of them have 4, but most of them have 3. And most of those responsibilities are shared. You have your administrative assistant and bookkeeper. You have your SDC, which is your student data coordinator, and your register. That's a combined position. And then you have your attendance secretary as well as the receptionist. So those you would see in an elementary. So we've got to take all of that into 3 people that the principals have to share out. And I do understand the concern of wanting to address that, and we are working diligently to address the concerns that you've had about that, as well as the assistants, because everybody has a concern about, I'm doing 2 jobs, and especially when another location may be doing only 1.
And I'm going to say this, and thank you for sharing that. I completely understand that, but it doesn't change how I feel. My point is, I want to see something for elementary secretaries.
You will.
I don't care what consultant comes in here. We're paying them. They can say what they want. We are here. Not only have I worked in this district, I worked in this district as a teacher. I worked in this district. I'm on a school board. So guess what? I've been here longer than a whole lot of and I know we can make it happen.
Yes, ma'am. It is
We
being
made
addressed
other things
appropriately, I
happen.
assure you.
We have a list up here of wants and not all needs, and we can make it happen if we want to. One thing I've learned is if you want something to happen, you'll find the money. You'll figure out how to get it done.
Well, and I think
And two, we understand that there are other positions, and we all do 2 and 3 and 4 jobs. I completely get that. So I don't want to undermine someone else who feels like, well, you know, she's only talking about this. But this is something I've been studying for a couple years. And this has been on my radar for some years now. And I think I've expressed that every year about this is what we need for this particular group. I'm not saying that the other groups are not important, because they are too. And I think Ms. Washington said it best. I have a plan for a few years, and I get that. But we have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
And because I've raised this question for many, many years, I would like to see something or bring something back for the next year or 2 so we can see that that's going to happen.
Yes, ma'am.
But as far as consultants, they're great. Don't get me wrong, but they don't work in this district, and they can tell us whatever they want to tell us. We're the people that have the boots on the ground in this district, and we know what we need. Thank you.
And I want to share one position that I think that we've talked about a lot, that we know is definitely not compensated appropriately in our district, because instructional assistants, special ed assistants, they come to our district, and we hire a lot of them, and we have a lot of them that support in our, to kind of illustrate what that impact of the salary study is going to be for that in Richland 1, and I have 10 years of experience. Our current practices is that we don't give them any experience credit. So their salary may start out at $17,000. So our new plan will start their salary out around $25,000. That's not I mean, some people may say that's still not enough, but just think about it. That's a 30% increase over the current salary that we are doing. So those positions that we're having a challenge hiring, we know that has been a priority, and this is how we're addressing things like that. So those that are coming in that are not currently at that rate will see that increase, and that will try to address that inconsistency of them not being placed on, not getting any experience credit when they came to us. So that's just a good example of what some of our positions that have not been compensated appropriately, the type of increase that they may see based on how long they've been with the district.
Are you telling me that we have instructional assistants that work full-time that are only making $17,000 a year?
Yes,
full-time employees in our district?
Oh, yes, ma'am. We have a large number of those employees.
Dr. Elkin Scott?
Just one follow-up question with that. Are we paying our instructional assistants different if they have a college degree? Because I know some districts, if you have a college degree, your salary, I'll just say an example, $25,000, but if you don't, then it's $17,000. Are we doing that as well?
Yes, so ours would be more like if you come in with a high school diploma and you just have the parapro as yours, you may be making 16.
Okay.
But if you have a 60 credit hours, you may be making 17.
Okay.
And if you have a 4-year degree, you're making 18.
Okay,
So it's not
just want to make sure.
huge
Yes.
difference, but we currently are paying that way, and we're looking at what that process is going to be for next year. But Currently, our practice is that that starting pay for a teacher assistant with 0 years of experience coming into our district will be right at $25,000 would be their starting pay, which we're hoping will address the number of vacancies that we have in that classification.
And that is covered in line 5
Yes.
of the budget.
All of that is covered in line 5. Anything that's related to the increases from the proposed pay plans that we're putting in place are covered in line 5. And 6, right?
I know that you guys have line 24 through 32. I just would like to ask, I mean, if it's amenable to the board, I know that I personally would love to sit down with administration before our next budget reading. If there are like sessions that we could do to break down, because I do have a lot more questions. I don't know if that's something that you all would like to do as well, but I would personally like to have, if we could do maybe like mini sessions that we did before.
Yes, we offered small group to do small group meetings, and we'll be glad to offer them again.
I think now having most of the information in hand is a little bit more, like being able to see this today, I just have more questions. Like you guys presented amazing, but I definitely need I have more questions.
Ms. Nash, rather than small groups, because what I've learned about small groups is we don't know what the other person, what questions they have or what's being shared. I would prefer a workshop. Therefore, we can all hear the questions and the answers, because if we do small groups, I don't know what your concerns were or the answers given to you.
That works perfectly fine with me, and it looks like that's something that's amenable to the board, and I think Mr. Trapp is on the phone, so I guess we'll get that scheduled. And I guess if you want to go ahead so that we at least, for the others, and then that way we will table, I guess, most of our questions that we don't have that are immediate for the workshop. She still has some to go, though.
Ms. Williams, could you just tell the board the timeline that we're working with as far as proposing when we have to go to county council for the first budget reading, so that they will have an understanding of when we need to look at scheduling the workshop?
Okay, the county's first reading of the budget is May 7th, but we will get the budget request of the county is due next Friday, May 3rd. We'll have it there by the 2nd or before the 2nd. That's the time.
So before the 2nd?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
If you want to go ahead and continue, because I think we still have we are on number 24, is that right?
24.
Yeah, sorry about that.
You stay right there. 24 relates to stormwater maintenance and inspections related to DHEC compliance. We're having some sinkholes and things of that nature, and so again, that's required compliance from DHEC, and that would be a contractual service to have those inspections done. Number 25, that relates to some of your comments, Dr. Elkin Scott. This relates to FTEs to address some of the inequities in school staff. So some of those front office staff, where we see the differences in numbers at various locations. So that's an attempt to kind of make that right and throw in CFA as well. That's captured in there in that number. So that's that request. Things are starting to go together, I'm sorry. Line 26 is additional learning support personnel for the elementary schools. And this is a request for either a social worker or a psychologist or nurse, whatever is determined to be the most important need to each individual elementary school. At a $1.3 million request. Number 27 relates to a floater nurse to go to various locations across the district. And then 28, again, counselors at Blythewood Middle and Longleaf Middle. 29 relates to a secretary position that helps with student due process hearings. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Nash, is it, okay. Okay, just with that, is that for the due process hearing at the district office level or at the school level or where?
That's at the district office level. Yes, ma'am.
So currently, we don't have a Secretary 5 in that position? Or?
Currently, we do have a Secretary 4, but this is an additional Secretary 4 to help with, as we talked about, with hearings, with some of them that come to you that you see for appeals, as well as probations and other scheduling for alternative school and processes like that.
So the ones we have now, don't we have 4?
No, we don't. We
So-
have 3.
We have 3. Okay, I know at one point we had 4. So we only have 3, and 3 is not enough.
We would, another one would help us with the process to make sure we keep everything going and are in compliance.
So we have, I just want to make sure I understand. So we have 3 secretaries with the processing. Are they tied to each one of you guys, like one tied to you, one tied to Ms. Burnett, and maybe one tied to the 2 part-time, or how does that system work?
Well, the way the system works now is with Dr. Burnett Lyles and the 2 part-time hearing officers, we have the 3. We have one person that works on summaries, as well as also processing subpoenas when we receive those notifications and other legal ends. We have another person that processes the disposition letters for the alternative school after meetings like this, as well as for hearings results. And we also have the processes of the alternative school, as well as scheduling the due process hearings. So there are several different steps in there, as well as also the probation contracts that we have to do.
Okay, I'll save my questions for the workshop. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You stay right there, too? Number 30 relates to assistant athletic trainers at each of our high schools. Yeah, there's a lot happening across the state, and some districts have totally changed how that model looks. And so that is to kind of help with that need there. And 31 relates to salary increases and participation in the incentive programs for our activity bus drivers. We're really having a need there, a serious lack of drivers. So schools are having to rely on charter buses, and so that we hope that would be able to help with that need. And then the last request relates to 1 technician for the Performing Arts Center, as well as some operating expenditures to get that running.
Madam Chair?
Ms. Porter?
I have a question for item number 24. Is there a reason why that's not on the 8%?
It is a recurring, it's a recurring cost. Really, that's the only reason it's there versus in that 8% ask.
Okay, so it sounds like we're going to save the rest of our questions for a workshop. You guys go ahead and exercise your voices for that day. Everybody okay? We moving on?
Madam Chair?
Ms. Agostini?
I just want to make a comment. I'm looking at this, and 141 employees. And, you know, going back through the years that I've been on the board, to me this seems like a wish list and not a needs list. I think, and Dr. Scott, I don't know if you remember, but I think the most we've ever increased is maybe by 30, and maybe I could be totally off, but I've generally thought that adding FTEs was, anywhere between like 10 and 30. So, no, I look forward to the workshop so we can discuss this further. But I am concerned with the addition of 141 FTEs, and actually wondering if we're actually going to be able to fill it, because we still have, significant recruitment problems as it stands and openings. So thank you.
Yes, with that statement, I just want to say, because we can make comments about how it looks, I would say when we have a workshop, looking at all of this as we reflect, just bring the suggestions to the workshop as well. Like if we're unsure about 141 employees, I would think you would also have in mind of how many you would cut, because we all see them. So which ones would you cut? So we would have to have that kind of discussion at the workshop.
That sounds good. It's going to be a very robust evening. All right, well.
And I would like to add just on Ms. Agostini's comment, that just keep in mind that 60 of those positions are currently in the district funded through ESSER, so we wouldn't have to find personnel for those because they're already here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Williams. You did a great job of fielding all of our questions. Everybody did. Thank you so much. And we will be now moving on, if everybody's okay, with item 11.0, no action requested. Item 11.1, policy revision proposal, policy BHC, board staff communication. This agenda item is, in this section, is a policy revision proposal for policy BHC, board staff communication. Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Ms. Nash. I'd like to ask Dr. Marshalyn Franklin, our Deputy Superintendent, to present the update to the board.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, our first policy that we'll take a look at tonight is policy BHC, Board Staff Communications. You will recall in March, the board approved a revision to a section of policy BBA, Board Powers and Duties, as it relates to board members' visits to schools. And so as it stands today, the revised version of policy BBA is in conflict with the visits to schools section of policy BHC. And so district administration proposes that we revise policy BHC by striking the current language and inserting a reference statement to direct the reader to policy BBA.
Board members?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Franklin. I like the changes that we have here. However, I would like to strike and remove that very last paragraph that starts with, therefore, discussion by either party of personalities or personal grievances will be considered as evidence of unethical conduct. I like to see that strike. And my reason for wanting to see that is when I think about when I'm in Walmart or the grocery store minding my business, and parents or teachers or school administrators come up and just have an impromptu conversation, not trying to do anything unethical, but just kind of sharing and giving you an update. I don't want to deter any faculty or staff member from thinking that they cannot I'll speak for myself, contact me, because I truly believe in the open door policy, and don't just say that, I mean it. I want faculty and staff, when they have questions or concerns, to contact me. And I know how to contact administration or the superintendent to share those without sharing the name of the person who shared it with me. And I don't want them to feel like now they can't do that. I don't want parents to feel like they cannot do that, because I remember I'm sitting here today because they trusted me and they believed in me being a voice for them. So I don't want them to now feel like they don't have that power to be able to come and have those conversations because they may be written up or someone may see it as unethical. I think we're all professionals, and we say that all the time, that we want to treat our teachers like professionals. Then if we want to treat them like professionals, let's not come up with policies to make them feel like they're unprofessional. So that's my take on that.
Ms. Porter?
Yes, ma'am. I just want to also share my concerns who don't know all of the processes of how to go. And I've witnessed a number of times my colleagues have shared a process or redirected community members of how they should go about issues. And sometimes we're the only person that they know to go to or they feel comfortable. I'm thinking about our parents who come from different countries, who speak different languages, and it's hard to navigate our website and find out where to go and who to go to, and sometimes having that community advocate is the only person they know to go to.
I echo that sentiment. I think that we have been trying to build a rapport with our community of teachers, and I think just them showing up recently has shown that we've garnered a trust with them previously have been working on, but now it's starting to happen, and that's something that we want to see, and I don't want to, I'm with my fellow board members, I don't want to deter that at all. And it may be the language is strong, but I don't feel comfortable with that last line either.
Okay, so I'm hearing that in addition to the section on visits to school, the board also desires district administration, when the policy comes back for second reading, to strike the last sentence.
That is,
okay.
No objection seems to be here.
All right, we'll take a look at policy IKEA, high school credit for middle school. And so this policy provides guidance for middle school students to earn high school credit. In Carnegie stands today, the way the policy is written, a middle schooler can earn 1 unit of credit for world language towards high school completion. By design, the district's dual language immersion program, the middle school model, allows students to, or a student could earn up to 2 world language credits. And so district administration proposes that the policy be revised to read, a student will be awarded 1 unit of credit for each high school world language course successfully completed during middle school, which will allow the dual language immersion students to earn up to 2 credits.
Madam Vice Chair.
Ms. Agostini?
So is this the first year, Dr. Franklin, that the 8th graders are going into ninth grade? Okay. Because I'm just curious about, I mean, has there Spanish, are they going to be okay going into Spanish 3 their freshman year of high school?
The program, I believe they will be, but I'll yield to Dr. Manigal, who works with the director of the DLI program.
Good evening, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, Dr. Moore. This is really a part of our new proficiency-based learning plan. Dual language immersion in Richland School District 2 has existed for years. However, we did not have a practice or a policy in place that allowed students to receive more than 1 credit in middle school for a world language course. So students will demonstrate proficiency the same way that they would and the high school level use for a biliteracy seal that is recognized by the state through the Advent Stamp assessment. So students would take that nationally normed assessment. Based on their success, they would be awarded credit, proficiency-based learning credit.
So just to make sure that I understand, based upon how they do will determine how many high school credits they get.
Yes, ma'am.
So they may, while they've done all 8 years of Spanish through our dual immersion, they may only get 1 credit.
They may only receive 1 credit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. McFadden?
So for the schools that have Spanish 1 and 2, French 1 and 2 in middle school, when they transition to high school, they get that credit. They don't have to take any language courses in high school?
They would not have to take any if it meets the requirements that they need for graduation. Students currently only need 1 credit of world language to graduate or an equivalent. There are other courses that would count for graduation credit. However, students need to be cognizant, and school counselors make them aware of what they need for college or help them with that training. Some colleges and universities only require 2. Some require 1 for their college enrollment. In order to, so it's not just graduation credit. We also will advise them as to what they would need in order to be prepared for the college of their choice.
So virtually someone could go to high school and not have to take any language skills?
That is correct, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Porter?
Yes, ma'am. This is a side question. I think it's related. Is ASL a part of this program?
So we don't currently teach ASL in any of our high schools in Richland too, but ASL is recognized as a world language in the state of South Carolina. So yes.
Okay, so with that, I just want to make the comment that it's been brought up to me before how that would be a great addition, especially for our students who struggle with ELA, that learning a second language is rather difficult, and of the languages, ASL would be more accommodating for those students.
Yes. Thank you.
Board, we will now move on to item 12.0. We'll take a look at the draft agenda for May 7th, 2024 meeting. Dr. Moore.
Thank you. Our next scheduled meeting is May 27th, 2024. This is a regular board meeting. We will have our call to order and executive session beginning at 5:30 p.m. We will then move to approval of the agenda and then release to executive session. During executive session, we will look at student appeals, student admission requests into the district's adult education program, employment recommendations and certified releases, and we will then move to inspirational moment, and the pledge will include approval of the consent agenda, including approval of minutes from previous meetings, diploma petition, the Health Advisory Committee recommendations, and classified employment releases and in-district transfers. We'll then move to public participation, followed by voting on executive session items, which would include student appeals, student admission request into the district's adult education program, employment recommendations and certified releases, and any as needed for items discussed in executive session. We'll move then to Section 8, unfinished business, action requested. We will have our second reading of policy revision, staff communications, and policy revision, school credit for middle school. Currently, we do not have anything under unfinished business, no action requested, or new business action requested. We'll move then to Section 11, which is new business, no action requested. The board will receive a report on our demography, as well as a legislative committee update, followed by a review of the agenda for our next meeting, which would be for May 21st, 2024, regular board meeting. If needed, we'll have public participation, followed by executive session, voting on executive session items if needed. And we will conclude with board and superintendent comments and then adjournment. And I'd just like to let the public know, remember that our May schedule is slightly different. So we are meeting the first and the third Tuesday.
So that May date, I thought you said May 22nd. So actually, it should be
May 7th.
I mean, May 21st is what I have on here. Let me check. I know May 7th is correct.
You actually said May 27th for our next meeting. You just misspoke. It's May 7th.
I misspoke. It is
Okay.
May 21st. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
Board members, are there any revisions or anything anybody would like to add at this time?
Ms. Chair?
Ms. McFadden?
11.2, the legislative committee update, that's actually going to be, needs to be changed to AI conference learning in the brain presentation. The legislative update will be in June.
Okay.
And Ms.
Eckstein?
Nash, I think it would be good for us to have another down.
Okay, so we'll just leave legislative update, but have
Mr. Kelly or Mr. Turketta or
okay.
somebody from administration.
It will probably be from one of the, we will look at asking one of the other professional associations to come and provide that. Remember, Mr. Kelly
that's right.
is a district employee.
Right, yes.
And we cannot just have one perspective presented.
Yes.
So we need to be inclusive.
Sounds great. Okay, so we will add that. And then the other thing was for the AI conference update for Ms. McFadden.
A presentation for it. Okay.
All right. Well, we have no public participation, so let's see here. We will now do, and we have no executive session items. So now we will do board comments, and we will start with Ms. McFadden and just work our way around.
Okay. And Jocelyn, that's it, right? Gadsden for their student initiative. It was really an honor to meet everyone or to see everyone. I want to say thank you to my board colleagues. We had a great meeting. Thank you, Ms. Nash, for a successful chair position today. Good night.
Ms. Porter.
Thank you again for our inspirational moment and and congratulations to all of the recipients today of the awards that were announced. And again, thank you to our community members for always reaching out to us and being attentive and involved. Thank you.
Ms. Washington.
Just want to say great job, Chairwoman, leading our meeting tonight. And thank you to, congratulations to everybody that was recognized tonight. It's always great to recognize our students for all their great achievements. I want to say shout out to CF5 for an amazing conference this past weekend. I got an email or phone call actually from somebody who was just so excited about all they learned, couldn't wait to implement, and also I invited them to attend here in the winter so that they can learn about our programs. Thank you about the many programs that support our students in online learning and even the proficiency-based courses. Got a lot more insight on how that works and the proposals that will be submitted. And then to our administrative professionals and our bus drivers, thank you so much for the wonderful work that you do every day. And to all of our employees, our parents, and our various stakeholders, I love a healthy, hearty conversation. So I just want to thank you for your patience on tonight, and I want to say always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you have a board that is attentive, and we're listening, and we want you to know that your voice matters as well. Have a great evening, everyone, and thank you all so much for all you do for Richland too.
Ms. Agostini.
I too wanted to thank Ms. CC and the students at Richland Northeast for their energetic and enthusiastic inspiration.
Dr. Elkin Scott.
Just want to say thank you to the Budget Committee. I do appreciate all the hard work that you put in, and I think we had a healthy conversation, and I'm looking forward to having more. Also want to say congratulations to all the students who were presented tonight, and especially to Jason, Jaylene, the super duo is what I call them. I love to see student leaders, and I love to see student servant leadership. So kudos to their parents as well, because students learn that from what they see. They watch what you do, and they mimic what they see. So thank you for that. Dr. Moore, I want to say thank you, too, for your leadership, for you being dialogues. And Ms. Nash, thank you. You did a great job this evening. And everyone.
Mr. Trapp, I'm so sorry, Chairman Trapp. I forgot you were on the phone. Are you still there?
That's okay.
It is your time.
Oh, yes. No, all I want to do is I just want to thank Dr. Moore and Ms. Williams on their, I know they've done a lot of hard work on the budget, and I really appreciate what they're doing. I look forward to hearing more in the coming weeks. Thanks.
Dr. Moore?
And I echo, you have done a great job tonight, Ms. Nash. But I do have a few things to recognize. First, I want to congratulate CFK. For those that may not be aware, they were one of 6 finalists for Palmetto Finest. And they did not win, but I have to tell you, I went to the watch party. The kids, she had told the students, everybody that's up there is a winner because there's over a lot of schools, and they were one of 6. And the kids clapped for everybody that was presented, and they cheered for them. And even though they didn't win, they still celebrated. So congratulations to CFK on that. Also, we had a wonderful bus ride this week because we did the biodiesel in the bus. So Friday, a major milestone was celebrated at Blythewood High School. For the first time, the Bengal Biodiesel program put their student-created biodiesel fuel into a Richland 2 school bus. The students and I then rode the bus that they fueled. And so I want to congratulate our State Teacher of the Year finalist, Will Epps, and his amazing students on this incredible learning journey and accomplishment. This has been 5 years in the making, and if you could see the students, some of them were crying because They had failed so many times, and now they had succeeded, and it was just phenomenal. I want to remind our parents and community members, this is not just for parents, but community members too. We have our Hidden Danger Parents presentation coming up. So please make it a point to be right here in this room this Thursday night at 6 p.m. for our Parent Academy event called Hidden Dangers. Our expert presenters will show you what drugs are being hidden in candy, how potent these drugs are because they're laced with products that are killing students and other people, and what is important as far as taking steps to ensure that we keep our children safe. So this isn't just a high school issue. These drug-laced candies and even vapes are showing up nationwide in elementary and middle schools. So please, please, please come out this Thursday, 6 p.m. right here at R2i2 to learn about these items that are harming our students. Also want to celebrate our Richland 2 magnet programs because they continue to attract national attention and accolades. Barbara Turner, our Richland 2 Magnet Program Director, was just named the Region 4 Director of Magnet Schools of America's National Board of Directors. So yes, we celebrate that. We're also very excited for Ridgeview High School and Spring Valley High School for getting recognized as Magnet Schools of America National Demonstration Magnet Schools and Top Merit Schools of Excellence. The Demonstration Magnet Program serves as an innovative laboratory for other schools across the nation. But we're not done yet. In addition, the Center for Achievement and Westwood were recognized as nationally certified magnet schools, and not done yet, and Sandlapper Computer Science Immersion School was recognized as a Merit School of Distinction. The teams from the Center for Knowledge and Leadership Academy at Muller and Rice Creek and Bridge Creek STEAM M presented on the national platform. And 12th grade Spring Valley Discovery Magnet student Ava Phelps was the recipient of a $1,000 MSA National Magnet Scholarship. Wow, that's a lot. Two more small items. I want to encourage everybody to refer people to our district to work because you will be eligible for a bonus if you do the referral and they actually join our team. So please take advantage of that opportunity that our Board of Trustees have put in place. And last but not least, a point of privilege, we are celebrating our administrative professionals, and I want to personally thank Ms. Georgette Council and Ms. Tanedra Washington for taking such good care of myself and our Board of Trustees. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ms. Nash, can I add one more thing? Sure. I'm sorry, but it is Bus Drivers Appreciation Week, and I totally forgot that, so I want to say Happy Bus Drivers Appreciation Week. Thank you so much for all that you guys do.
Okay, now that we've gotten through this, they said pretty sure I can talk fast now. Okay, so I'm gonna run this down. Georgette, Tanedra, thank you for all that you do. I mean, you've got 7 people you have to take care of, and Dr. Moore 8, and we appreciate all that you guys have done. To all the work that you guys did to put on these presentations tonight, I know that it was a lot, and I just wanna say thank you for that. And I also wanna say thank you to my colleagues who are very fiscally responsible. Don't let anybody tell you that these people up here are not fiscally responsible. They actually really do care. And so also want to thank them for a great meeting tonight and a robust conversation, which we will be having, and we hope we have a lot of snacks, because it sounds like we're going to be here for a while on that day. So bring coffee. We can get coffee for that meeting. But Hidden Danger, Dr. Moore covered that, and I just want to say to communications, you guys have done a really wonderful job, and we really hope the community comes out for Hidden Danger on Thursday. This is something that administration's been working hard hard, the Safety and Security Committee, because we really want to just bridge that synergy with our community and give you guys information that's really helpful so that we can solve a lot of things that happen outside of our schools, and so they hopefully never make it into our schools. So with that, I want to say thank you to everybody. I know our security guards out there are like, we're getting out of here before 9, so shout out if you guys can hear me. All right, everyone, that is all. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Washington.
I move to adjourn the April 23rd, 2024 school board meeting.
Do I have a second? We have several seconds. Dr. Scott, I heard you first. So we have a motion by Ms. Washington and a second by Dr. Scott. Board members, if you don't mind, we'll do a hand vote. And
Hand is waving in the air.
okay, the vote is unanimous. Meeting adjourned.